and welcome to Shell Point Today for Monday, May 30th. I'm Dan Philgreen. Today is Memorial Day, the time when we remember and honor the fallen who bravely served in the military, fighting for our freedoms. And in the spirit of Memorial Day, we will continue with more of our story on resident Tom Wilcox, who served in the U.S. Army Air Corps during World War II as a gunner radio operator. Also today, we'll show you how some residents at Harbor Court are displaying their patriotic pride. But first, we want to remind you that tomorrow you can enjoy dinner at Fishtail Grill in Cape Coral. Voted the best of Cape Coral for 2013, Fishtail Grill by Merrick Seafood offers everything from fresh salads and fried seafood baskets to homemade soups. And of course, delectable fresh fish entrees such as cranberry macadamia sea bass. The cost of the outing is $8 with dinner on your own, and court pickups begin on the island at 4:30 p.m. Sign up and come on out. On Wednesday of this week, you can get crafty with woodworking. Woodshop supervisor Phil Nadeau will teach you to use the lathe to create a sea urchin ornament. For those who've signed up, come out to the Creativity Tunnel at 12:30 p.m. There will also be a second class on June 8th at 12:30. The cost of the class is $15. If you missed the important resident hurricane seminar at the Village Church last week, not to worry. You can watch a replay of the event on Channel 12 this week. Tune in every day at 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. to learn all about the changes, procedures, and safety tips that are important to know should a weather-related emergency arise. Again, that's every day this week at 10 a.m. and again at 2 p.m. on Shell Point TV Channel 12. Today on this Memorial Day, we conclude the story of a living hero who fought for our country and makes his home right here at Shell Point. Tom Wilcox was drafted by the U.S. Army Air Corps and trained as a radio operator and gunner who flew 67 missions aboard a B-26 bomber before the plane was struck by enemy fire and was shot down from the sky. Here's Tom to tell you in his own words what happened.
We were issued a B-26 Martin Marauder, 6-man crew, and we named our plane the Old Wind. The old wind blows no good. Finally ended up at the end of the war, it ended up with the best record of any of the bombers. And they said if we got in 50 missions, we could get 30 days at home. And then they changed it to fly till you get a replacement. And my replacement came. And my target was in Holland. That was to be my last mission. And I get to go home. We got a briefing on the target. When we got to the target area, it was overcast. So the pilot said we were going to go around. So on our way around, we got a terrific explosion and the plane shook and I rolled over and landed on the ceiling. We got the plane straightened out. I pulled my gun in and opened the window. I let the tail gunner out and the turret gunner out. And I started to go out and my phone jack was dangling. I thought at first the radio was shot out, but it was unplugged. So I plugged it in and I heard the pilot talking to the co-pilot. "Are you all right?" He said, "Well then help me hold this thing." I butted in and said, "This is Wilcox. I got the tail gunner and turret gunner out. Should I go?" And he said, "No, wait a minute." And finally, the co-pilot said to the pilot, "The engine's smoking." The pilot said, "It's on fire. You better get out, Wilcox." And he didn't have to tell me twice. I dove out, fell. Couldn't see the ground. I had a parka on and it covered my face when I turned. I thought I was getting pretty close to the ground, so I pulled the chute. It popped open. I saw I was going to land in a field next to a wood. And I noticed about 50 yards from me was another crew member. We got together in the woods and we were met by a couple young men. And they said, "Come, follow us." They took us through the woods to the other side of the woods. There was a mowed field with a big haystack. They opened up the hay, and they had made a room inside the haystack to hide things that they didn't want the Germans to find. So we got in, and they told us to wait until they brought help. So they brought us help, and he said he's going to take us to a place where we would be hidden. The next day we were greeted by another young man. Nico said he was going to take care of us. They got us a change of clothes, took away our military duds, got us a change of clothes and a card that said we were deaf mutes. In case they tried to talk to us, we couldn't understand them. So they took us into Hannah's place, Hannah Vandervoort. She was a nurse, worked with the neighbors, and she was also active in the Dutch underground, hiding Jewish children. I was there for a short period of time, then the Germans moved in with a heavy gun emplacement, so we had to go on up to the next town, which had Siska's dairy farm. And we got looking kind of seedy after a week or so. He said it would be good if we could get a haircut. So Nico went and brought a barber in, and he gave us a neat haircut and a shave. And we felt bad because we couldn't pay him, and he said, "No, I don't want any pay, I want your autograph," to prove that I gave help to the American flyers that were trying to rescue Holland from the Germans. We were there for 4 or 5 days, and the Germans moved a cook unit, an advanced cook unit in, and Siska had to get us out of our bedroom. We had a bedroom there. And it took us into a secret hiding place they made in a back room that was between the roof and the wall. It was about 5 by 7 unit. We couldn't even sit up in it. We had to lay down. And they, of course, brought us food and took our potty jar, changed it every day. We were there for 5 days, I think, in that little secret room. Then the Germans moved in. We got, our next stop was at a Dutch convent. The sisters had a secret room. They had sealed up a unit next to the big cook oven. And we were there for a couple weeks. Finally got word from Nico that the British Second Army was close enough we thought we could escape. So he got us early in the morning, and we took off with 2 of the women and made it across the field. We saw some soldiers, a company of soldiers coming, and they didn't look like Germans. So it was a British Second Army advanced troop. And we ran across the field and told them who we were. And they told us where the advanced headquarters was and told us how to get there. But we got with the Second Army, and they took us to Brussels, Belgium, and to La Baguette Aerodrome in France. We met with them and told them what happened. And they helped us pack our goods and given a plane ride home. Oh, in Akron, they got a telegram that said that Wilcox was missing in action. About the same time they got that notice, Dad got a notice from me that I was in France and I was on my way home. Yeah, well, when the war ended, I got married and kept my job at General Tire. I had worked there before I went in. It was in between we learned to build homes. This was the Depression was ending and the building market was booming. We decided to go to Florida, and then Dad looked at property in Florida and it was reasonable. Well, when Dad died, he was an elder in the church. And he taught a senior boys Sunday school class. Well, when he died, the preacher asked me if I would take the boys' Sunday school class. And like most average churchgoers, I didn't know much about the Bible, enough to teach. But I happened to have a Bible school in Akron. There was Cornice Hill Bible College. And I worked with a guy that told me I could go there under the GI Bill. So I went there and got me a pastor's certificate. Well, my wife found out that this neighborhood needed a minister and had me try out for it. And they chose me to be their pastor at Forest Hill Community Church. Well, my first wife got cancer. And she passed away. There was an ad in the paper for a manager for Islands End Condominium. So I took the test and they chose me. And I enjoyed being a manager of the condo. I had an ad in the paper for one of my owners wanted to rent his unit on an annual basis. And then this little Georgia girl came down and liked it. And thought she'd like to have it. I told her that you couldn't have any pets. She said, I don't have any pets, no kids, no husband. So I said I would be nice if I was 30 years younger and you were 30 years older. And one thing led to another and we dated and got along good and we got married and we've been happily ever after. So we had the ability and the finances to get to Shell Point. We moved to here and we've been here ever since. And probably will be, as long as I behave myself.
Up on the 4th floor of Harbor Court, residents are displaying their patriotic pride. When we heard about this, we decided this would be a great time to go see for ourselves and to show the rest of you what your neighbors are up to. We caught up with 4th floor resident Janet Waite, who told us all about it. Hi, Shell Point. We're here at Harbor Court up on the top floor, the 4th floor, and I'm with Janet Waite right outside her apartment. And they've done an interesting thing here, a very patriotic thing as a community of Harbor Court. Tell us about it, Janet.
Well, we wanted to have a large flag in front of our apartment, but they all dragged the ground. There was really no place to hang one. So one day when we were in the store, we saw little flags like this.
That,
So we purchased ours and put it out there. And then I thought, maybe the rest of the floor would like to do that too. So I sent a letter around and everybody was enthused. And now we all have one.
How about that? So it's a very patriotic floor here.
I was downstairs yesterday and saw my neighbor that lives next door, And he was still excited about the flag, and he said, every time I come out, I feel like saluting the flag. And his name is Harry Bertosa.
Very good.
And he was a veteran.
Ah. So how many are there altogether?
Well, there's actually 16.
16 flags. All right, for 16 apartments. Excellent. Now these look like they're kind of specially made for outdoors. They're pretty
I think
heavy-duty.
they were meant to be used in a garden.
Aha.
But
okay.
it worked out perfect for putting here.
Sure.
And when our maintenance man for this court saw them, he said, oh yes, I'd be happy to put all of them up for you. I'm a veteran.
How
So-
about that? Perfect. That's just perfect. So what a creative community project here on the top floor of Harbor Court, and just in time for Memorial Day. And now it's time to take a look at today's happenings, menus, and Village Church connections, right after this Listening to the Words preview from David Howenstein.
Monday, May 30th, Memorial Day for 2016. That's the theme of this week's Listening to the Words program. Memorial Day was originally called Decoration Day and was initiated to honor the soldiers for the Union and Confederate armies who died during the American Civil War. The original national celebration of Decoration Day took place on 30 May 1868. On this week's program, you will hear of a remarkable act of heroism. Then, hear a heartwarming story of a dying man placing flags at the Alva, Florida cemetery. Then the story behind the laying of wreaths at Arlington National Cemetery. Then a writing class set up especially for returning veterans. Finally, a light-hearted tribute to Army wives. David Howenstein reminding you that this Memorial Day program is on Shell Point Channel 12 twice each hour, all 7 days this week. As I always say, thank you for listening to the words.
Hello and welcome to the Happening segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Caitlin Vanscoy.
And I'm Bev Chandley.
And we're here to give you all of Monday's activities. By the way, happy Memorial Day, and just a reminder that all offices are closed today. We start at 8 o'clock with men's round robin tennis at the Woodlands Tennis Courts. And at 8:45 we have virtual bowling in the Resident Activity Center. Billiards will be played at 9:15 at the Resident Activity Center. Also at 9:15 the Lollygaggers Paddlers head out for their weekly outing from the kayak storage. Pottery with instruction available will be held in the Pottery Studio at 9:15. Then we move to 10 o'clock for men's match play tennis at the Woodlands. The Suzy Q heads out at 10 o'clock to Matanzas on the Bay. Sign up is required. And the Disciple Men's Bible Study Group will be gathering in the game room of the Woodlands at 10:30. At 10:45, table tennis playing clinic will be held in the Island Tunnel. And there's a Health Connections class called Bar Ball Edition, Session A, being held in the Tarpon Room at 11:30. That's it for the morning. Here's Bev to tell you all about our afternoon.
Thank you, Caitlin. At 12 o'clock today, we have Mahjong. That's going to be in the Sable Room of the Woodlands. And you'll find Zumba Fitness Session C at 12:45 down in the Tarpon Room in the tunnel. Samba will be played at 1:15. That's in the Resident Activity Center. The Beady-Eyed Bead Club will be in the Oak Room of the Woodlands at 2 o'clock. And we have a Health Connections class at 3 o'clock. This one is Pilates Stretch. That's in the Tarpon Room. And the singles table at the Crystal Dining Room will be available at 5 o'clock. We have a beginner's square dancing group in the Tarpon Room at 6:30. Also at 6:30 we have Duplicate Bridge. That's in the game room of the Woodlands. And then we have our final activity of the day. It's 7:30 square dancing in the Tarpon Room, and that's currently full. It's sure nice to see you here today, and we will see you back here again tomorrow.
Menu specials for Monday, May 30th. In the Crystal Room, the platter is the Memorial Day Lunch Buffet for $14.95. The soup is Senate bean. The Crystal Room is closed for dinner today. The Island Cafe has a chicken Philly on a hoagie with fries for $7.75. And the Palm Grill is closed on Mondays. All menus are available 24 hours a day at shellpoint.net.
Hi, welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm Andy Hawkins, the senior pastor of the Village Church, and this is Memorial Day, a very special day set aside to remember those who have given their lives on the battlefields of our nation. battlefields on which the freedoms which we so often take for granted have been earned. It is certainly appropriate that we as a nation and culture set aside some time to remember those who were willing to experience a hell on earth so we might experience a relative peace on earth. One of the most moving experiences Jean and I have had took place when we visited the National Cemetery at Omaha Beach in Normandy, in France. The rows of crosses and other markers flowing, as it were, up the hill from the English Channel below reminds one of the flow of thousands of soldiers challenging the fortifications as they gave their lives, not just to keep us free, but to free a continent from bondage to a wicked ideology. Memorial Day was originally known as Decoration Day, a day when such cemeteries would be visited, markers would be draped with floral tributes, and the lives represented would be remembered for their sacrifices, remembered for their heroism, remembered for fulfilling their purposes for us. Often, as is the case in Normandy, those cemeteries cover the original grounds of combat. The very earth of chaos and catastrophe now lie in peace and repose, ripe for remembering. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow captured that contrast in his poem entitled Decoration Day. He said this, "Sleep, comrades, sleep and rest on this field of the grounded arms, where foes no more molest, nor sentries shot alarms. Ye have slept on the ground before and started to your feet at the cannon's sudden roar or the drum's redoubling beat. But in this camp of death no sound your slumber breaks. Here is no fevered breath, no wound that bleeds and aches. All is repose and peace, untrampled lies the sod. The shouts of battle cease, it is the truce of God. Rest, comrades, rest and sleep. The thoughts of men shall be as sentinels to keep your rest from danger free. Your silent tents of green we deck with fragrant flowers. Yours has the suffering been, the memory shall be ours." Such places where even the birds speak in hushed tones are reserved for remembering. Perhaps this day we will all take some time for hushed reflection, for remembering those who have gone before us to protect us, to save us by their sacrifices. And perhaps we will think as well of our Savior, whose ultimate sacrifice saved us from the ultimate battlefield, and whose empty grave granted victory over the ultimate enemy. Death is swallowed up in victory, the Scripture says. O death, where is your victory? O death, where is your sting? And that victory is what gives us ultimate hope, hope that those who died for our freedom might not have died in vain. Hope that just as there is freedom for us, there is hope of resurrection for all who trust in His mercy. Have a blessed and wonderful Memorial Day as you engage in that kind of reflection and honor those who have gone before us, giving their lives. Blessings to each and every one of you on this very special day, and thank you for joining us on Village Church Connections.
Thank you for joining us here in Shell Point today. Return tomorrow when we'll find out about a pickleball clinic that you can participate in for great fun, friendly competition, and good exercise. Also, we'll discover a Health Connections class about optional treatments and managing chronic pain. Until then, this has been Shell Point Today for Monday, May 30th. I'm Dan Philgreen, wishing you a wonderful rest of your day and looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow.